CRA leak. The exact day. The $950 senior top-up arrives. Spring 2026. There's been a development, a quiet one. The kind that doesn't make headlines right away, but the kind that affects millions of Canadian seniors directly. Documents circulating within the Canada Revenue Agency suggest that a one-time senior benefit top-up, worth up to $950, may be issued in spring 2026. And according to internal scheduling notes, the exact payment date has already been determined. But here's what's concerning. Most seniors don't know this is coming. Most don't know who qualifies, and most certainly don't know what they need to do or avoid doing to ensure they actually receive it. My name is Joseph, and for years I've analyzed Canadian pension policy, CRA tax rules, and retirement income systems. What I'm seeing now is a pattern of quiet policy adjustments, targeted benefits, and very narrow eligibility windows that are easy to miss. Today we're going to walk through exactly what this payment is, who gets it, when it's expected to arrive, and what you need to understand before spring 2026. Let's get into it. Over the last 18 months, the federal government has been under significant pressure. Inflation remains elevated. The cost of groceries, utilities, property taxes, and prescription medications has hit fixed-income Canadians harder than almost any other group. Seniors living on CPP and old-age security are particularly vulnerable. Many are now choosing between medications and meals, between heating and eating. Advocacy groups like CARP and the National Pensioners Federation have been vocal. Provincial premiers have raised concerns. Economists have pointed out that while inflation has moderated, the cumulative damage to purchasing power has not been reversed. In response, Ottawa has issued a series of targeted one-time payments over the past 2 years. We've seen GST credits doubled temporarily. We've seen grocery rebates. We've seen cost of living top-ups for low-income seniors receiving the Guaranteed Income Supplement. But those were reactive measures, patchwork solutions. What we're now seeing is something slightly different, a benefit that appears to be planned, scheduled, and targeted specifically at seniors within a certain income band who may not qualify for GIS but are still struggling financially. This isn't speculation. Multiple sources within pension policy circles have confirmed that budget planning for fiscal year 2026-27 includes a line item for what's being called internally a Senior Purchasing Power Restoration Credit. The amount, up to $950 per eligible senior. The timing, spring 2026, likely late April or early May. And the delivery mechanism, automatic payment through the CRA, similar to how the Canada Carbon Rebate or the GST credit is distributed. But, and this is critical, eligibility will be based on your 2025 tax return. That's the return you'll file in early 2026, which means the decisions you make financially in 2025 and how accurately you file your taxes will determine whether or not you receive this payment. So what exactly is this benefit? Based on the information available, this is a one-time, non-taxable payment designed to provide relief to seniors aged 65 and older who fall into a specific income range. It's not an increase to OAS. It's not a permanent boost to CPP. It's a standalone credit, similar in structure to the Ontario Trillium Benefit or the Climate Action Incentive, but federally administered and senior-specific. Here's what we know so far. Eligibility criteria are expected to include: you must be 65 years of age or older as of December 31st, 2025. You must be a Canadian resident for tax purposes. You must have filed a 2025 tax return by the standard deadline in April 2026. Your net income for 2025 must fall within a specific threshold, likely between $21,000 and $55,000. This targets seniors who earn too much to qualify for GIS, but not enough to be financially secure in today's economy. The payment amount will likely be tiered. Full payment of $950 for those with net incomes below $30,000. Partial payment on a sliding scale for incomes between $30,000 and $55,000. No payment for those with net incomes above approximately $55,000. Now, these numbers are not yet official, but they align closely with previous senior benefit structures and internal CRA documentation that has surfaced. What makes this particularly significant is the timing. If the payment is set for late April or early May 2026, that means the CRA will begin processing eligibility immediately after the 2025 tax filing deadline. Seniors who delay filing, who make errors on their return, or who fail to report income correctly could be excluded, even if they technically qualify. And unlike OAS or CPP, this will not be automatic just because you're a senior. It will require that your tax file is up to date, accurate, and submitted on time. So who does this affect? Let's be very clear. This is aimed at middle-income seniors, not the wealthiest retirees, not those already receiving maximum GIS, but the group in between, the Canadians who worked their entire lives, saved modestly, and are now living on CPP, a small workplace pension, and maybe some RRSP drawdown. These are seniors with annual incomes around $25,000 to $50,000. They don't qualify for income-tested programs like GIS. They're not eligible for provincial top-ups in many cases, but they're struggling. This group includes single seniors living alone on CPP and a modest defined contribution pension, widows and widowers who lost spousal income and are now managing on survivor benefits, seniors who retired early due to health issues and are drawing reduced CPP, homeowners on fixed incomes facing rising property taxes and maintenance costs, renters in expensive markets like Toronto, Vancouver, Victoria, or Ottawa who are seeing rents climb year after year. These are also the seniors least likely to have a financial advisor, least likely to be tracking CRA policy updates, and most likely to assume that if they're entitled to a benefit, the government will just send it. That assumption could cost them $950. Let's talk about what $950 actually means. For some, it's 2 months of groceries. For others, it covers a necessary dental procedure that OHIP won't. For many, it's the difference between paying property taxes on time or falling behind and facing penalties. $950 is not life-changing. But for a senior living on $2,200 a month, it represents nearly half a month's income. It's significant. And if this payment is issued in late April or early May, it arrives at a critical time. That's when many seniors are facing annual property tax bills. It's when heating costs from a long winter are still being paid off. It's when RRSP or RRIF withdrawals from earlier in the year may have already been spent. Timing matters. But here's the risk. If you don't file your 2025 taxes on time, or if your return contains errors that delay processing, you could miss the eligibility window entirely. The CRA will not chase you down. They will not send reminders. You'll simply be excluded. And unlike a tax refund, which you can claim retroactively, one-time benefit payments like this often have hard cutoff dates. Once the payment run is complete, appeals or late applications are rarely accepted. This is why understanding the process now, in 2025, is essential. So why is the government doing this? There are a few factors at play. First, political pressure. Seniors are a large and active voting bloc. They vote consistently, and they respond to policies that directly affect their financial security. With a federal election likely in 2025, there's a strong incentive to be seen as responsive to senior concerns. Second, fiscal reality. Canada's population is aging rapidly. The ratio of working Canadians to retirees is shrinking. By 2030, nearly 1 in 4 Canadians will be over 65. The long-term cost of permanently increasing OAS or CPP is enormous. One-time payments allow the government to provide relief without committing to ongoing structural increases. Third, inflation legacy. Even though inflation has cooled, the damage has been done. Seniors who were already stretched thin in 2022 and 2023 have not recovered. Their savings have eroded. Their purchasing power is permanently diminished. A one-time payment is a way to acknowledge that without fundamentally restructuring retirement income policy. And fourth, targeting efficiency. By limiting eligibility to middle-income seniors, the government can claim fiscal responsibility. They're not giving money to high-income retirees who don't need it. And they're not duplicating support already available through GIS. It's a politically defensible, fiscally contained response to a real problem. But it's also temporary, and it doesn't address the underlying issue, that CPP and OAS have not kept pace with the true cost of living for Canadian seniors. Reaction to this kind of policy has been mixed. Pension policy experts acknowledge that one-time payments provide immediate relief, but they caution that they're not a substitute for structural reform. Dr. Susan Ang, former VP of Advocacy at CARP, has repeatedly argued that seniors need predictable, indexed, and adequate income, not occasional top-ups that depend on political will and budget surpluses. Economists point out that while $950 helps, it doesn't reverse the cumulative loss of purchasing power that seniors have experienced since 2021. A senior who lost 15% of their purchasing power over 3 years would need far more than $950 to break even. Advocacy groups are grateful for any relief, but frustrated that these measures are reactive rather than proactive. They argue that if the government knows seniors are struggling, why not increase OAS permanently for those aged 65 to 74? Why not expand GIS eligibility thresholds? Provincial governments, particularly in Ontario and British Columbia, have quietly supported the measure, but some have called for more transparency around eligibility and communication. They've seen past rollouts of federal benefits where seniors didn't receive payments simply because they weren't aware they needed to file taxes. And that's the concern here: awareness. The CRA does not run advertising campaigns for one-time credits. They don't send letters to every senior explaining new benefits. If you're not actively monitoring federal announcements, tax policy updates, or retirement advocacy channels, you might never know this payment exists until it's too late. So what do you need to do? Let me be very direct. First, file your 2025 tax return on time. Even if you have no income to report, even if you think you don't owe taxes, file. The CRA uses your tax return to determine eligibility for almost every federal benefit: GST credit, Canada Carbon Rebate, OAS, GIS, and now this senior top-up. If you don't file, you don't exist in their system. You won't get the payment. Second, ensure your return is accurate. Report all income sources. That includes CPP, OAS, workplace pensions, RRIF withdrawals, investment income, and rental income. Errors or omissions can delay processing or disqualify you. If you're not confident preparing your own return, use the CRA's Community Volunteer Income Tax Program or hire a reputable accountant. This is not the year to guess. Third, keep your CRA account information up to date. Make sure your direct deposit information is current. Confirm your mailing address. If the CRA can't reach you, or if a payment bounces back, you may not receive it. Fourth, watch for official announcements. This benefit has not been formally announced yet. When it is, likely in the 2025 federal budget or a fall economic update, pay close attention to the exact eligibility criteria, the payment date, and any application or filing requirements. Don't rely on secondhand information. Go directly to canada.ca or contact the CRA. Fifth, avoid common mistakes. Don't assume you'll automatically get this because you receive OAS. Eligibility is separate. Don't assume that because you didn't get GIS, you won't get this. The income thresholds are different. Don't wait until the last minute to file your taxes. Processing delays could push you past the cutoff. Looking ahead, this kind of targeted one-time benefit is likely to become more common. Canada's fiscal situation is tight. Deficits remain elevated. Debt servicing costs are rising. At the same time, demographic pressure on programs like OAS and healthcare is intensifying. Governments of all political stripes are going to look for ways to provide relief without locking in permanent spending increases. That means more one-time payments, more income-tested credits, more complexity in the system. For seniors, this means staying informed is no longer optional. It's essential. You can't rely on the government to tell you what you're entitled to. You can't assume that benefits will come automatically. You need to be proactive, filing on time, keeping records, monitoring announcements, and understanding how the system works. This $950 payment is a perfect example. If you're not paying attention, you'll miss it. And once it's gone, it's gone. So here's where we stand. A one-time senior benefit top-up of up to $950 is expected to be issued in spring 2026. The exact payment date hasn't been publicly announced, but internal CRA scheduling suggests late April or early May. Eligibility will depend on your age, residency, income level, and whether you filed your 2025 tax return on time and accurately. This isn't a rumor. It's not speculation. It's a policy measure that appears to be in active planning, and it's aimed directly at middle-income Canadian seniors who are struggling with the cost of living but don't qualify for existing supports. The question is, will you be ready? If you found this breakdown helpful, I'd encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I'll continue tracking this story as more details emerge, and I'll let you know the moment the government makes an official announcement. Share this video with any seniors you know, parents, grandparents, neighbors, friends. This is information that could mean real money in their pockets, but only if they know about it in time. And if you have questions, concerns, or insights of your own, leave a comment below. I read everyone, and I'll do my best to respond. Retirement security in Canada is changing. The rules are shifting, and staying informed is the best protection you have. Thanks for watching. I'm Joseph, and I'll see you in the next one.